Good evening. This is Akashvani. I am Valsa Williams with the news at 9. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates and lays foundation stones of development projects worth 4,200 crore rupees at Pith in Uttarakhand. Says Uttarakhand's progress and well-being of its citizens are at the core of the government's mission. External Affairs Ministry says a chartered flight will reach Israel's Tel Aviv today to bring back Indian citizens under Operation Ajay. Urges all Indians in Israel to register with Indian Embassy. New Delhi says India has always advocated resumption of direct negotiations for a sovereign and independent state of Palestine. RBI imposes 5.39 crore rupees penalty on Paytm Payments Bank Limited for violation of KYC and other norms. In badminton, PV Sindhu enters quarterfinals of Arctic Open at Vantaa in Finland, beating Chinese Taipei's Wen Chi-su. And in ICC Cricket World Cup, South Africa set a target of 312 runs before Australia in Lucknow. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated and laid the foundation stones of various development projects worth 4,200 crore rupees at Pithoragarh district in Uttarakhand this afternoon. Addressing a public meeting in Pithoragarh, the Prime Minister expressed confidence that this will be Uttarakhand's decade. Mr. Modi said Uttarakhand's progress and well-being of its citizens are at the core of the government's mission. He assured that Uttarakhand will reach new prospects of development and their government is working with that one motive. He said, when the world faces grave challenges, India stands firm and the country's voice is getting stronger each day.
आज भारत विकास की नई बुलंदी की तरफ बढ़ रहा है। पूरी दुनिया में भारत और भारतीयों का गौरवगान हो रहा है। एक समय था चारों तरफ निराशा का माहौल था। आप देखिए चुनौतियों से घिरी दुनिया में भारत की आवाज कितनी बुलंद होती जा रही है।
The Prime Minister said the development of border areas is the priority of the central government. Mr. Modi assured that the government is continuously working to bring development in the border villages by developing them under the Vibrant Village scheme. He said in the next 5 years, 4,000 crore rupees will be spent in the state to prevent natural disasters. Earlier in the day, the Prime Minister also interacted with Army, ITBP and BRO personnel at Gunji. Prime Minister Modi has said India is preparing its youth to take advantage of new opportunities through skilling and education. Addressing the Kaushal Dikshant Samaroh virtually today, Mr. Modi said when youth power is stronger, the country develops more. He said the scope of skill development is continuously increasing in India. The Prime Minister said the new national education policy has been brought after almost 4 decades. He emphasized that the government is establishing a large number of new medical colleges and skill development institutes like IITs, IIMs and ITIs. Mr. Modi mentioned that crores of youth have been trained under the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana.
करोड़ों युवाओं को प्रधानमंत्री कौशल विकास योजना के तहत ट्रेनिंग दी गई है। वहीं दूसरी तरफ हम नौकरी देने वाले ट्रेडिशनल सेक्टर्स को भी मजबूत कर रहे हैं। हम एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को बढ़ावा देने वाले नए सेक्टर को भी बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं। आज भारत गुड्स एक्सपोर्ट्स, मोबाइल एक्सपोर्ट्स, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक एक्सपोर्ट्स, सर्विसेज एक्सपोर्ट्स, डिफेंस एक्सपोर्ट्स और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में नए रिकॉर्ड बना रहा है।
Speaking on the occasion, Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan said nearly 10,60,000 youth have been given certificates under this convocation. The Kaushal Dikshant Samaroh was organized in New Delhi. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and opposition leader Benny Gantz jointly announced the formation of an emergency unity government and a war cabinet to oversee the fight against Palestinian terrorist group Hamas. It will consist of Prime Minister Netanyahu, opposition leader Gantz, current Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and 2 other top officials serving as observer members. Meanwhile, the fighting has further intensified, with Israeli jets pounding the Gaza Strip for days in retribution for the weekend attack by Hamas terrorists. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Tel Aviv amid the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. Mr. Blinken said the U.S. is determined to make sure that Israel gets everything it needs to defend itself and provide for the security of its people. At least 22 Americans have lost their lives so far in the conflict, and the number could still go up. The External Affairs Ministry has said a chartered flight will reach Israel's Tel Aviv today to bring back Indian citizens under Operation Ajay. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar chaired the meeting to review preparations for Operation Ajay. Briefing media in New Delhi, Ministry spokesperson Narendra Modi said 230 passengers are expected to tomorrow morning. He said India is keeping close watch on the situation in Israel, which is evolving and dynamic. Mr. Bagchi requested all Indians in Israel to register with the embassy there. He said there are 18,000 Indian citizens in Israel, including students and caregivers.
Our focus right now is to make sure that those Indians who are in Israel, there are about 18,000 odd Indian citizens. Small percentage of that are Indian students, others are caregivers and other categories of professions. We are in touch with them.
The spokesperson also said the role of the Indian Air Force in assisting in bringing back Indians cannot be ruled out. Responding to a question of India's stand on Palestine, Mr. Bagchi said New Delhi has always advocated resumption of direct negotiations for a sovereign and independent state of Palestine.
Our policy in this regard has been long-standing and consistent. India has always advocated the resumption of direct negotiations towards establishing a sovereign, independent and viable state of Palestine, living within secure and recognized borders, side by side at peace with Israel.
The External Affairs Ministry spokesperson also stressed that there is a universal obligation to observe international humanitarian law, and there is also a global responsibility to fight the menace of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. On Kerala, a woman reportedly injured in Hamas attack in Israel, Mr. Bagchi said the person is in hospital and improving. He said they have not heard of any casualty so far. Replying to another query, the spokesperson said India remains committed to ensuring parity in the diplomatic presence and is engaged with Canadian authorities to ensure this parity. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today said India supports the World Bank's new vision to create a world free of poverty on a livable planet and its new mission to end extreme poverty. She participated as the governor of World Bank in the 108th meeting of the Development Committee plenary in Marrakesh, Morocco today. The agenda for the meeting was Ending Poverty on a Livable Planet, Report to Governors on World Bank Evolution. This is Akashvani giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts. The Reserve Bank of India has imposed a monetary penalty of 5 crore and 39 lakh rupees on Paytm Payments Bank Limited for violation of Know Your Customer KYC and a few other norms. RBI said the bank had also violated certain provisions of RBI guidelines for licensing of payments banks, guidelines on reporting of unusual cybersecurity incidents, and securing mobile banking applications, including UPI ecosystem. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the 9th G20 Parliamentary Speakers Summit P20 in New Delhi tomorrow. In line with the theme of India's G20 presidency, the theme of the P20 summit is Parliaments for One Earth, One Family, One Future. During this two-day global event, 25 speakers, 10 deputy speakers, along with 50 members of Parliament, among others, are going to participate. The Pan-African Parliament will also participate in the G20 event for the first time in India. The Railway Ministry has announced an ex gratia of 10 lakh rupees to the families of individuals who lost their lives following the derailment of 23 bogies of North East Express train near Raghunathpur railway station at Buxar district in Bihar last evening. The injured would be given 50,000 rupees. 4 persons were killed and over 100 injured in the mishap. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar announced that ex gratia of 4 lakh rupees will be provided to the families of individuals who lost their lives in the train accident.
सब लोगों को मदद करने वाले हैं। हम सबको उसके परिवार को 4-4 लाख देंगे और जितने भी इंजर्ड हैं उन सब लोगों के लिए भी हम लोग 50,000 रुपया देने वाले हैं। राज्य सरकार की तरफ से भी सबको कोऑपरेट किया है।
Due to the rail mishap in Bihar, rail traffic has been severely hit on the main route of New Delhi-Patna-Howrah route. The National Human Rights Commission (NHRC) has issued notice to the Bihar government of the reported dumping of the remains of a road accident victim by police personnel in a canal in Muzaffarpur. Taking suo cognizance of media reports, the Commission has asked the State Chief Secretary and the Director General of Police to send a detailed report within 4 weeks in this regard. In Sikkim, rescue, relief and evacuation efforts continued through the day today, focusing especially on Mangan district in the north. A total of 99 people, including tourists and locals, were evacuated from Lachung and Lachen by Indian Air Force helicopters to the Army helipad Libing in Gangtok. So far, over 2,500 people have been rescued and around 3,600 have been evacuated. The death toll stands at 37, while 78 people are still missing. Over 3,700 people are sheltered at relief camps. The centre has approved 7 bridge projects worth 118 crore 50 lakh rupees in Arunachal Pradesh under the Setu Bandhan scheme. Road Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari said these projects will enhance connectivity and boost economic growth across all sectors. The government has rejected media reports that GST has been imposed on Ganga Jal. In a social media post, the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs (CBIC) said Puja Samagri, including Ganga Jal, is exempt under GST. Secretary of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting Apurva Chandra has asked Akashvani, Doordarshan and other media units of the ministry to extend all possible publicity to the national campaigns of Meri Mati Mera Desh and Vikas Sankalp Yatra. Addressing senior officers of the ministry in Bengaluru, Akashvani today, the secretary informed that Meri Mati Mera Desh campaign will culminate in New Delhi on October the 31st, when 75,000 youths will gather on Kartavya Path with soil collected from across the country, and the Prime Minister will attend the event. He said another campaign of Vikas Sankalp Yatra will begin in November, when for 2 months Vikas Raths will visit Gram Panchayats to create awareness about 17 central government programs and educate the masses about their benefits.
Vikas Sankalp Yatra. That is going to be a very important campaign which will last for 2 months. It will cover all the Gram Panchayats in the country, that is about 2.6 lakhs. Within Karnataka itself, I am told there are about 5,500 Gram Panchayats. So each and every Gram Panchayat will be visited by Vikas Rath, largely focusing on the schemes of 17 central government departments.
The key domestic stock indices had a flat day and ended marginally negative. The BSE Sensex reduced 65 points or 0.10% to close at 66,408. The NSE Nifty slipped 17 points or 0.09% to end at 19,794. In badminton, 8-seeded PV Sindhu today moved to the quarterfinals in women's singles of Arctic Open at Vantaa in Finland, defeating Chinese Taipei's Wen Chi-su 21-11, 21-10 in the second round. However, in men's singles, Kidambi Shrikant bowed out of the tournament in a straight games loss to Japan's Kanta Tsuneyama in the second round. In ICC Cricket World Cup, chasing a target of 312 runs set by South Africa, Australia were 156 for 8 in 35.4 overs at Atal Bihari Vajpayee Khana Cricket Stadium in Lucknow a short while ago. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates and lays foundation stones of development projects worth 4,200 crore rupees at Pith oragarh in Uttarakhand, says Uttarakhand's progress and well-being of its citizens are at the core of the government's mission. External Affairs Ministry says a chartered flight will reach Israel's Tel Aviv today to bring back Indian citizens under Operation Ajay, urges all Indians in Israel to register with Indian Embassy. New Delhi says India has always advocated resumption of direct negotiations applications for a sovereign and independent state of Palestine. RBI imposes 5.39 crore rupees penalty on Paytm Payments Bank Limited for violation of KYC and other norms. That is all in the news at 9. Good night.